Theory number 4, disaster environmental change. Surrounded by pyramids, plazas, ball courts, and government buildings, the Mayans discussed philosophy, developed an accurate solar year calendar, and relished a thick, bitter beverage made from cocoa beans, the world's first hot chocolate. Farmers, too, were riding high, turning hillsides into terraced fields to feed the burgeoning population, or growing population. Then came the bust, a decline that lasted at least 2 centuries. By 1100, the residents of once thriving Maya cities seemed to have just up and left. But where did they flee to and why? The latest Mayan climate change study, released in 2012, analyzes stalagmites in the cave in Belize, those lumpy rocky spires on cave floors, to link climate swings to explain the fall of the empire. Formed by water and minerals dripping from above, stalagmites grow quicker in the rainier years, giving scientists a reliable record of historical precipitation trends. One sample used in the new study, for example, documents fluctuations as far back as 2,000 years ago. Among the trends revealed by the Belizean stalagmites, the early classic Maya period was unusually wet, wetter than the previous 1,000 years, according to a study leader, Douglas Kennett, an environmental anthropologist at Pennsylvania State University. During this time, the population increased rapidly, aided by the surge in agriculture. During the wettest decades, from 440 to 660, cities sprouted. All the hallmarks of Mayan civilization, sophisticated political systems, monumental architecture, complex regions, they all came into full flower during this era. But this 200-year-long wet spell turned out to be an anomaly, which means it turned out to be totally different than what they expected, in the opposite way. The climate pendulum swung back, hard times followed. Mayan systems were founded on those high rainfall patterns, Kenneth said. They could not support themselves when patterns changed. The following centuries, from about 660 to 1000, were characterized by repeated and at times extreme drought. Agriculture declined, and at the same time, social conflict rose, Kenneth says. The Mayan religious and political system was based on the belief that rulers were in direct communication with the gods. When these divine connections failed to produce rainfall and good harvests, tensions likely developed. Within the scant 25 years between 1750 and 775, for example, 39 embattled rulers seized power in the empire, evidence of rivalry, war, and strategic alliances, according to Kennett's study. But times will get even harder. The stalagmite record suggests that between 1020 and 1100, the region suffered its longest dry spell of the last 2,000 years. With it, the study suggests, came Maya's crop failure, famine, mass migration, and death. Sorry about that. By the time Spanish conquistadors arrived in the 16th century, inland Mayan population had decreased by 90%, and urban centers had been largely abandoned. Farms had become overgrown and cities reclaimed by forests. Okay, number 1, how have researchers determined that the Mayans were affected by drought? What are 2 reasons that would make you believe the results of this study? Think about the argument that is made in this theory. How might a drought create an environment that allowed the other 3 theories to develop? After you explain how each of the other theories can be created because of a drought, cross each one out: warfare, disease, and famine. Okay, don't forget to write complete sentences